All right, guys. Welcome back to the 1% podcast number 22. Just had a great weekend of baseball. A lot of stuff happened, a lot of action. Got to see a lot of great teams. Got to see a lot of top-ranked teams in the state of Texas over in Manor. And this weekend, I think we're heading over to Houston, the Houston NIT. As a matter of fact, if any of you guys are at the Houston NIT and you want to say hello, talk about the podcast, let us know, man. Shoot us a note. We'll give you a shout. But anyway, welcome to the podcast. Garrett, Sean, how you doing?
We're back, living the dream, baby. In the office, nothing has changed. We're the same office as we were last week. Next week, we're going to get it done, so we're excited. We're getting close.
Awesome.
It's good. Yeah, baseball's in full swing. You got the World Baseball Classic coming up. Baseball's right around the corner. Spring training games have started, so it's feeling a lot like spring.
I walked into the gym yesterday and there was baseball on the big screen, and I was like, "Yeah."
Can I take my pants off to work out?
Yeah, it was good.
Real quick, I don't like the fucking pitch clock, man. I think it's. I saw a couple of at-bats get rushed. I saw a couple of outs called with two in college baseball. Saw a bunch of stuff happening that is altering the game. I don't think it's more fun. I think it's terrible. But you guys got something?
I like it. I like it from the standpoint of like the game tempo staying high. I think it's a little egregious at times, especially at the college baseball level, because we were talking. We showed up to UTSA to go watch one of their inter squads a couple weeks ago, and Coach Hallmark was talking to the team after the inter squad had gotten done, and they were like, "Hey, you would have been called out there. Like you would have struck out on that because you took too long to get in the box, or this would have been a ball or whatever because you took too long, whatever that was, right?" And I didn't realize it was that big of a deal, but he was like, "This is a big deal. The umpires are gonna enforce it. If you are not like paying attention to this, like we're gonna get beat on certain pitches, and it's gonna be like it's controllable, but it's out of our hands. Like you have to be paying attention to it, right?" So I think a little bit of, especially at the college level, I think that's a little much. In the professional side of it, they've had a ton of experience, especially last year with the minor league teams, and they said it was incredible. Like games were moving fast, game tempo was up. I think it's going to force teams to have to be better, right? Because you're not going to be able to be in the bullpen and us taking 10 mound visits and taking forever to throw the next pitch and picking off 1,000 times to just like delay the game to get the arm ready in the pin. Like dudes are gonna have to be ready to compete right now.
Yeah.
So it's gonna expose some teams. Honestly, I don't know. That's just my thought. I don't think they're gonna be able to adjust. Those are professional athletes. They'll adjust to it. Obviously, right now since it's spring training and it's kind of new, it's fresh right now. I think some teams are getting beat by it. Like there's some just like plays and pitches that they're getting beat on that is a big moment of the game and it bites them in the ass, but I think they'll get used to it. I don't think it's
my best man in my wedding, shout out Luke Taggart, AA with the Rockies.
Yeah,
we're gonna cut that out.
We're gonna get him on the pod. So
we're gonna get him on the podcast. He actually wears our 1% hat all the time, and all the major league guys or big league guys are out there like, "Hey, I want one of those hats." Let's go.
But anyway, so I was talking with him. We were talking about it, and he said last year they implemented it. And for him, I mean, he's a fast tempo guy anyway, so he's like, it doesn't really affect me. But he goes, from the game standpoint, he goes, dude, some of those games we were knocking out in under 2.5 hours.
Wow.
He's like, it's wild. He's like, but for my take on it is I'm anxious to see, like, especially as you get into like the season, more so with the big league guys, is like, I think it's going to be good and it's going to be cool to see, like, again, the strong are going to survive.
Yeah.
Right? Like, who are going to be the guys that are, like, going to be able to adapt to the pitch clock, more so the hitting guys, because I think it's easier for a pitcher to get up there and, like, have fast tempo and all the stuff we talked about on the last podcast. But I'm anxious to see, like, who the guys are in the box that are able to adjust to that, and it's not going to derail their career, so to speak. Because it is, like, I mean, it is a big adjustment. Because I was the guy as a player that was getting in trouble with umpires for taking 20, 25 seconds between pitches. And so being able, when you don't have that luxury of making that guy wait on you, it's a lot.
Okay, but let me ask you a serious question. Then how is my son going to be able to like redo his wrist straps, dude, in the major leagues?
They're made fast, man.
Your routine's going to go out the window. The next thing, just like Sean said, the stronger are going to survive. I don't know if you saw this rule as well. You cannot throw a position player until the 9th inning, and the team has to, like the opposing team has to be up by 10 runs. I'm not going to look it up.
Oh, shit.
So
now we have rules in effect.
The big deal on that is, like, dude, arms and the bullpen is going to get ravished. You know what I mean? Like, because, like, at the end of the day, why do they throw position players? They throw position players because the game's over. Like, they're not going to end up coming back, right? And they're going to save their arms for tomorrow, so they're not, like, running into the next game with nobody ready to go, right? So I think the pen and arms are going to get a little beat down because they're going to have to keep throwing. They're going to run through the bullpen.
Well, it's going to go back to what it was years ago when it's like you're going to have to expect more out of your starter, to where it's not where your bullpen guys aren't having to throw every single day and getting demolished by the time you get to like June for the major league level. So it's like, again, like guys,
starters might give up 10 runs in a game.
Exactly, but it's like, again, all the stuff that we've been talking about with our guys is like, hey, like you're going to have to do your role. You're not going to have to. You can't solely rely on someone cleaning up the mess that you created. To some degree, you're going to have to get out there and mop it up a little bit more than what it has been in the past.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty good segue considering what we saw out in Manor. And for a lot of the boys that we play with, this is our first time seeing some high-level majors competition. And, you know, the baseball's just better. It really is. And I think it was eye-opening, not only to us, but other teams that went up there to see, like, okay, this is what some good teams look like. But what I did notice was, you know, there's some really big organizations in Texas, and they've got 4 and 5 teams per region. And so these teams, while may not necessarily be teams, they're a lot of hand-picked players. You know, I do wonder what the development looks like. You know, are they getting that work on their own? And for us, we're a team. We develop kind of what we do, but it was really, you know, it's going to be harder to compete, especially like when you go to Houston NIT, you've got kids traveling from all over to play for one team in some of these brackets. You know, what do you guys as coaches who are developing kids, what do you guys think about that? And then, well, what does that do, or how does it influence the way you run your organization, knowing that you want to be able to compete at those higher levels?
I'll use a story from the summer. We went out there this summer, the 2023s, kind of same thing. They were handpicked by me, kind of, right? But we inherited that team, and we did everything we could to make every single guy on the team the best that they could be and reach their potential. That's what we're chasing. I told the guys yesterday at practice that I say, my goal, and I may seem frustrated at times. I may seem that I'm pissed off. Like, you'll see it on my face. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and it's something that I got to work on as a coach, but you can see it. Like, when Garrett's not happy, everybody in the world knows that I'm not happy, right? And I try not to let that happen, but I told them yesterday, I said, guys, I'm not mad at you. I'm chasing perfection. I'm expecting you to be perfect, which isn't fair. And I know that. And I'm not telling you as an individual, I need more out of you and you have to be perfect or you're not worthy. Like, you're worthy today who you are as a player. And I just need you to understand that you're cheating yourself if you're not giving yourself everything you've got. I was like, that's what I get frustrated at. That's why I get mad, because I know you have more in you. And I was like, at the end of the day, you could get way better this year, and next year you come into the summertime, and I look just as pissed. Because now you're in a different place. Now you're in a spot where it's like, okay, well, what's my goals? If I want to play college baseball, bro, we're nowhere close. If we're expecting to compete and win tournaments and win games against the best competition in the state of Texas, I have to expect you to be better. It's where you're at. It's your environment. We have to rise to the occasion. And so a little bit of that, like, it goes back to the story I was going to tell. We were in the summertime, and these guys that we had on the 23s, like, we had got some new pieces and some better guys on that team to help us out and make the team better. Well, we were having a rough time at that point in the season. Well, we go to the WWBA in Houston at Tomball, which we're going to be at this weekend in Premier. And these dudes, like, put the best pool play bracket together that they've ever done in their life, playing the best of the best. They beat Marucci Elite, right? They walked them off in the last inning. And we ended up, like, we were down, 7-0 at that point. Yeah. And we come back and have 2 big innings back to back and we win the game 8-7. And then we go beat another team and beat another team, right? Good competition. Well, we're 3-0, right? Got to play one more, or was it opposite? 2-0, or we had to play one more.
It was 2-0.
So we were 2-0, beat two good teams, and we're 2-0, right? 2 big games. We go into this next game, and it's against this team. I'm not going to throw out the name. I don't think we need to, but we go play this team, and they're a huge organization in the country, right? And the coach straight up came up to me. I didn't know this during the game until the very last inning. He came up to me and said, "Coach, like I was worried about y'all." And they beat us like 5-3-0, 5-0, something like that.
It was 5-0.
Okay. And he comes up to me in the last inning. I'm mad because like we had the shot, right? We had the shot to go into the championship bracket as the 1 seed. And he comes up to me and goes, "Yeah, I had to fly this kid in to pitch against y'all."
He was 92-94 on the mound.
Fly him in. He's like, "I flew him in because we didn't have any other arms. Like you were gonna beat our arm that we had. Like your bats were hot." And I was like, I just in that moment, this is in the middle of a game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Well, not only that, he goes,
You flew this kid in. He's committed to U of H, 92-94. Throwing the breaker, like, when I'm talking breaker, like, it was a big league freaking slider. Like, it was disgusting, just carving our guys up. So it's frustrating, right? But it's who we are. And we can't let it affect us, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, we don't care. Like I told the guys this Sunday when they played some good teams, the 14s, right? I was like, dude, this is who you want to play. Yeah. Like, you don't want to be playing AA baseball and playing bad baseball and winning. Like, this is who you want to face. You want to face a guy that's 82-84 as 14-year-old, right? You want to face a team that doesn't make mistakes because if you can figure out how to beat them, holy crap, now we're good. Now we're real good, you know? And we have figured out a quote-unquote system that we're chasing that actually works, right? If we can figure out how to take a group of misfits, quote-unquote, again, if we can take a group of misfits and we go beat teams like that, the system is a system. You know, we got what we got and we're doing the right thing. So,
and I don't think it's so much changes like how we do stuff. I think it just, in my head, it forces us just to double down on our guys even more, right? Just like, hey, like address the flaws that's beating us in game, right? And work on that stuff. And it's just like I told them, it's like, you take that same group that went out there against the 14 majors, and even though you go 0-3 on the weekend and the score doesn't always reflect it, we're in every game. Make a couple plays here, execute with runners in scoring position, and now the script starts to flip a little bit more in our favor. And that was the whole premise of practice yesterday, our conversation on Saturday at postgame, and then walking into Sunday pregame and postgame with that, right? And they showcased better on Sunday. Just, again, found ourselves in a bind. But then again, we made a run in the last inning to give ourselves a shot, right? So it's like they're starting to comprehend some stuff at that age that if they keep progressing with that mentally, because again, 14 baseball, 13 baseball is not the end goal.
Yeah.
It's not the end goal, right? And it's like, how are we going to keep building? What's the next rung on the ladder? What's the next piece that we're going to work to achieve? So by the time we're 16 and 17 and we go to Atlanta, we go to these WWBAs, like, we're able to consistently run out there and showcase against the best teams in the country to give ourselves a shot to get recruited.
You know, one of the things that crossed my mind, because we've been there, I've been there with my son, is that you're in a big tournament, you know, there's a lot of kids playing. When you look around, there's kids on the bench, you know, everywhere. Even on these best teams, you've got kids who are uber talented, maybe, you know, could maybe start for any of the other teams out there. Yeah. Who are on the bench, maybe learning, maybe developing, maybe injured. I don't know what the case is, but, you know, at the end of the day, this, for most folks, this is pay to play baseball, right? So how are you guys, or are you encountering any of that? Why is little Johnny not playing? What? And if you are or you aren't, how you dealing with that?
Yeah. I mean, when you start talking about some of that, you're always going to be sitting. I think here's where you go. You're not always going to be sitting. There will be guys that sit, right? It's 9 dudes on the team. There's 9 dudes on the field. You're going to have multiple guys to be able to play in the season, right? So like you'll have guys sitting on the bench. I think this is the question that you have to ask as a parent and as a player. What am I looking to do, right? What am I looking to do? Do I want to be on the best of the best team? And that's what I want, and I might sit a little bit or a lot of it, right? Because I want to be on the best of the best, and like in my head as a parent or a player, like if I'm around the best of the best, like I will become that. Good. If that's what you want, go for that, right? If you don't want that and you're thinking, hey, I want my kid to be good in game and I want him to be able to play a lot and get experience, that might not be the situation that you want to be in, right? And then now you have a lot of aspects of this. So what's the coaching like, right? What is the practices like? Is he getting more in practice than what he's getting in game? I think that's what we try to give, right? Like we try to give that is like the games are honestly not super important to a certain degree, right? Because like the game is just information to us, right? The game is information to what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong and how we got to get better. And then we go double down on that in practice and in our training. So like the guys that do lessons with us that are on the teams, we take that information and put it into the lessons. So the more important piece to us is practice and lessons and using the game information to make that better. So when we go back out to the game, we're seeing something different.
Yeah, and I really want to talk about the not playing thing. I think that's a question a lot of parents and a lot of players have about like why am I not playing. But really quickly, talk about the approach you guys went into with your teams going into playing up for both teams. What was the method you used that was a little bit untraditional for a tournament setup in terms of your lineup?
The biggest thing for me, like when we get to that, is evaluate, like, as a player, if you don't like where you're at, you're not playing, you're not getting the playing time, you're not hitting in the lineup where you want, all that stuff, right? Evaluate the situation. And then ask yourself, why am I not playing? Would I play myself? Right? Ask those questions before you go and ask the coach. Because if you can answer that honestly, that's your answer right there. Right? And like for us, we try to put as much in our pocket in terms of like tracking stuff to where when we go out to write a lineup or prepare for those hard conversations that a kid may want to have, it's like we can give it to them right there and say, okay, like this is why I went with this kid and not you. Right? This is why I made the moves to put us in this situation, right? And yeah, I mean it's not always easy, but again, it's like I think in our instance doing that, right now you create that competitiveness to where it's like if you want to play on Sunday, if you want more playing time, you got to compete with it and compete with it in practice.
Are you asking in terms of like the lineups that we have?
Yeah, so I think that
that's a segue into what we're talking about. I think in terms of what we want to do is we want to win. We want guys to see that they are good enough, right? So like this weekend, you're like, hey, we're going to be playing better competition. We can't. It's not AA baseball like we did last year, where we can go throw two guys that aren't throwing great at that time, and it's okay if we lose them because we'll make a run on Sunday because we got all of our horses, right? Because if you go get embarrassed, especially in these bigger tournaments, like they're going to throw you in the very bottom brackets, and like you're not even going to be playing for anything. Like it's just games. You're going to get your guaranteed games at that point, right?
Yeah.
So what we said is like, hey, we got to win. Like we're chasing wins. Forget winning tournaments. Like we want to win baseball games. The tournaments will take care of themselves. We need to go win game 1 and then win game 2 and then game 3 and then game 4. If we have to throw our dudes on game 1, fine, we'll throw the dudes. And that's how we went about it this weekend. We threw, compared to the past, like both teams basically threw the best guys the first game on Saturday, or one of the better guys on Saturday, right? Or both games on Saturday. And it was in the mindset of, hey, we gotta go throw the best guys so that we win and give ourselves a chance to be facing the better competition Sunday, right? And we'll figure out we'll piece it together how we need to, right? But this is my thought is, hey, if we can go win game 1 and game 2, and then we go out on Sunday and we still have one good guy or two good guys to throw, okay, we go throw them, they win it, and then we lose the next game. Well, you didn't win the tournament, but you went 3-1. Well, would you rather go 3-1 or 1-2 or 1-3? I would rather go 3-1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it may be at the point right now to where we just don't have the pitching depth to go win 7 games in a weekend.
I don't think anyone does, because if you look at it, if you're brutally honest, if you look at youth baseball, like you go think of the tournament last weekend, right, when we were in Maynard, the Austin tournament. It was 3 to get on Sunday, 3 to get to the championship game, 4 to win for the 14s, right? So I don't think so. If you play 4 games and then you're 2 on Saturday, that's 6 total games. I don't think there's a 14U team in the country that has the arms, like truly arms, to go out and throw a horse each and every game. It's not possible, right? So then that poses a question of like, you go back to the tournament last year that we won in Houston. It's like, how do you win those? Well, you make your routine plays in the field and you hit.
And you hit.
Right? And for us, when we were talking about this last week, is it's like we've got to get the guys on the mound that are going to give us a shot. Right? And again, you saw it this weekend is the guys on the mound gave us a chance. And that's all you're chasing out of your starter. Right? When you put a guy on the mound, you want him to give you a shot to go out there, hold them offensively, and then go out and do what we do with the bats. Because it's the same thing we've been telling them is like, if we hit how we're capable of hitting consistently, we'll be in every game. Yeah. Not guaranteeing success, but we will give ourselves a shot each and every game. So again, it's kind of unconventional and stuff we've done in the past. But again, it's like the biggest takeaway from these majors teams is they're not going to give you anything.
Yeah, they're not.
You have to learn to hit. You have to learn to play good baseball and take the opportunities that are given to you.
And so it's less that you want the win, you want the success, but you're not chasing the ring. The ring will come, is what you're saying. Or the tournament win will come.
It'll come on its own. But at the end of the day, I want to show the guys that you can beat anybody. You can. Yeah. You just have to play good, you know? And you got to do your job, and you got to get up there. And just like Sean said, every pitcher this weekend, maybe other than two guys out of whatever, 10, 11 dudes that threw for both teams, maybe other than one or two guys gave us a true shot. Like a true, like, no uncompetitive walk, right? And they were up there pounding the zone and giving us a chance to win. And so when we do that, in our head, it's like, hey, we're giving the defense a shot to make plays. We just got to make the plays and we got to hit, right? Yeah. So if we win baseball games, in my opinion, that's what I'm chasing. It's not, and it's a very fine line that you might hear, like if you're listening, as like they just want to win. It's not really what we're chasing. I'm trying to show guys that they're good enough to beat anybody, right? And I want people to start to understand what it takes to win, because being a winner is a lot, right? Like to be a true winning team and to be a person that is a winner, like real recognize real, man. Like to be a winner, it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of consistency. Like Nick Saban talks about that a lot, right? Like that guy's a winner. You know how much it takes to win? Like he says it too, like he's never going to go out to face any team, right? Any team that Nick Saban faces, he's not going to go out there and be like, oh, it's Arkansas Pine Bluff, right? Oh, it's small Division I here and there, right? He knows what it takes to win, and it takes a lot, and you can never let off the gas, right? And so really what we're trying to do is just teach guys to be winners, right, and what it takes to be a winner. But I think diving into kind of what we want to talk about today and just like the main core of this, right? Obviously, the podcast name of this is Why Is My Kid Not Playing, right? That's the name of the podcast. Why is my kid not playing? Last week, or 2 weeks ago on the last podcast that we talked about at the very end, kind of jumped some people and just like maybe stepped on some toes. Yeah, stepped on some toes and said basically like, stop complaining that your kid's not playing. Stop making excuses. Stop pointing fingers. Stop saying, well, my kid's better than that kid. Why is he playing over him? Like, you're getting emotional about what's going on, right? Why is my kid not playing? I think it's a huge question that you have to really understand and look at from an objective lens and be like, well, if my kid's not stepping on the field, why? You know what I mean? I think we're in such a society now, especially the game of baseball, where it's, if I'm not happy in my situation, I leave. If I'm not happy with the playing time or what's happening on the field, I leave, right? I just give up and I go do something else. I do something different. I go and run into, a different team, or I make excuses for somebody else, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Sure. At this point, you can't do. It's like, what? Really take a look at it. You know what I mean? Because when you get to high school, guess what? Are you going to leave high school and go pay private school money?
Hey, some fucking kids do it, man.
But I don't love it.
Grass ain't always greener.
It ain't. Because you leave and go to that school, what happens if it's the same thing?
Yeah.
Now you're paying money to be pissed off.
Yeah.
And then what? You're going to get to college and you're not going to be happy with the situation and you're going to leave? Well, we see that happening. But guess what? You know how many dudes I played with? I was one of them, kind of, not really. I mean, I played at 3 different schools. It wasn't because I was unhappy about the playing time. It was just, it was not working for them as a coaching staff, and so I had to go figure myself out. But do you know I know dudes that have played at 5 schools in 6 years of baseball. And the consistent message that I hear from them is, that coach sucks. Worst person ever. That I didn't get the playing time I wanted. Worst place ever. Right? I make excuses or faults instead of it being ownership. It's me. I'm the reason I'm not playing. I'm the reason the coaching staff cut me. I'm the reason that I'm not getting what I want out of it. Whether that's your work ethic, whether that's your literal ability to play the game at the level that they need you to, whatever that is, right? We could dive into like college baseball, like we're picking a school based just off of that, like what you want out of the game, but that's not what we're here for. Like we are here for, why is my kid not playing today right now?
And at some levels of select ball, you do have the daddy ball. You do have, some of that stuff, some of the favorites and whatnot.
You don't hear.
Yeah, well,
you don't hear.
You guys don't have a similar thing, right? And a lot of these.
Sean will coach my kid if he plays.
We've already established.
And I'll coach his.
Yeah.
And his fucking kid will sit the bench fucking first. If that kid goes out there and boots a ground ball, like we leave kids in right now. If he boots it, his kid's gonna sit his ass on the bench, and I'm gonna tell him, hey, that's not good enough, son.
Yeah. And in high school,
that's not the Sean Arnold standard.
Like forget college and high school. The very next level. And some of these kids are playing middle school ball, right? And that may be a little more lenient, but I mean, you're not gonna have. You have a coach, hopefully you have a coach with a vision, with a plan, and they're doing something. And if you're not fitting into that plan, that makeup of that culture, you're not giving the 100% and you're not playing, that's kind of on the kid, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I think we've started to do, like when these conversations or questions come up, right? When people, parents, kids, whatever it is, start to approach us about playing time, well, then we completely revert that conversation or question back to them, where it's like, hey, why didn't I play in this game? Well, why do you think you didn't play? You know what the answer is? 99% of the time, I don't know. I'm like, all right, well, when you have some thought about it, when you come back with an answer, let me know, then we'll talk, right? And then you start to shift their framework of understanding of like, why do you think I chose someone over you? Well, he's hitting better. He's playing better defense. He's reliable on the bases. He takes 90 feet. All the stuff that we preach, right? Like when guys are doing that and you start to shift their framework and make them understand and dive into themselves without them even knowing, like they're giving themselves the answers.
Yeah.
Right? And again, like everyone wants to be emotional about it, but you've got to get out of that. Right? Like, you've got to really and truly